flag, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Open Public Meetings Act statement. New Jersey Open Public Meetings Law is enacted to ensure the right of the public to have an advance notice of and to attend meetings of public bodies at which any business affecting their interest is discussed or acted upon. In accordance with the provisions of the Act, the Board of Education has caused notice of this meeting to be published by having the date, time, and place thereof posted at the Augusta, Branchville, Lafayette, and Sussex post offices, and notice sent to the New Jersey Herald, Star Ledger, and the clerk of the boroughs of Branchville and Sussex and the townships of Frankfort, Lafayette, and Walnut. Mission statement. High Point Regional High School, in partnership with staff, family, and community, is dedicated to the quest for individual excellence. By fostering high standards of achievement, we prepare students to become responsible and productive members of a diverse society. Roll call.
Mrs. Anderson?
Here.
Mr. Ancliffe?
Here.
Mr. Dunn?
Here.
Mr. Kehoe?
Present.
Ms. Carver?
Here.
Mr. Morangi?
Present.
Mr. Miller?
Here.
Ms. Cadona?
Here.
Mr. Bealey?
Here.
Dr. Ripley?
Here.
Executive session, a motion will be made. The High Point Regional High School Board of Education in an executive session provide an update on personnel, legal, and negotiations items which are exempt from public participation pursuant to New Jersey Public Law 1975, Chapter 231, Open Public Meetings Act. Any discussions held by the board which need not remain confidential will be made public when appropriate. Minutes of the executive session will not be disclosed until the need for confidentiality no longer exists. The board will reconvene in public session in the cafeteria annex at the conclusion of the executive session. I need a motion.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Public session?
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The approval of minutes for the regular meeting of December 17, 2018, and the executive session minutes of December 17, 2018. Also the reorganization and special meeting minutes of January 3rd, 2019, and the executive session minutes of January 3rd, 2019. I need a motion.
So moved. Second.
Any discussion on those two?
I would just say the new board members probably staying on the first set of minutes.
Yes. All right, roll call.
Ms. Carver?
Yes.
Ms. Cadona?
Abstain. Oh, we're doing the present.
Mr. Kehoe?
Yes.
Mr. Dunn?
Yes.
Mr. Morangi?
Present. Yes. Yes.
Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Ancliffe?
Yes.
Mrs. Anderson?
Yes.
Mr. Bealey?
Yes. Public comments on agenda items only. Step to the podium, state your name and address in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act. We'll open public comments for agenda items only at this time. Each speaker should state his or her name and address. You'll have 3 minutes to address this board, which will be timed by me. We'll limit this section no longer than 45 minutes. Please be respectful and mindful that your comments are being recorded. Anybody? Okay. Presentations. Student Council, Lauren Price, speak for the House. Will update us if you're here.
I don't think she's here.
She's not here. So I guess that's for that. Mr. Talmay, do you have any issues with that? Like you can fill in with the
Yeah, I'll jump in when I'll add a couple things
Okay.
that council's work on, yep.
HPEA. Here comes the team. You guys don't need to state your name.
Good evening. We are, the HPA. We are just going to let everybody know we are presenting the contract to the union on Friday.
Thursday.
Thursday, that's why
we're here together.
Thursday, we plan on presenting.
And then we'll schedule the vote for the following week.
Yes. And again, I know that Carla had already sent out the invite to everybody, but we are having our party on February 9th, and you're all invited, and I hope that you can make it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, principal's report, Mr. Talmay.
Good evening, everyone. A little frigid temperatures tonight, this morning for sure. wanted to do a couple things. Student council is working on a couple events on them as we kind of go along throughout this night. First of all, we had a fantastic 8th grade open house that took place last week. And for those of you that did not get a chance to see it live in person, we had a huge turnout, a great turnout for our parents and our students. I just want to say thank you to Mrs. Frisbee. Mrs. Frisbee is the 9th grade physician counselor. She's the head coordinator of this very large event. To all the staff, that we were many staff members that were here as well, participating, to administration that assisted, to our secretarial support, to our custodial support. It really is an all-in effort. It takes everybody, all hands on deck to make it work. So I heard once how beautiful our facilities were. I heard it 1,000 times. I heard once how fantastic our classrooms are, our staff, and our curriculum is. I heard that 100 times over and over again. So it's very a proud time to get that feedback. I wanted to pass it on to you from the 8th graders themselves. I heard positive feedback from the parents themselves, and also from the staff themselves. So that was a fantastic night overall. We're looking to continue to improve that. We meet regularly, very quick after that, kind of debrief and see what we can work on for next year. Along the same lines, we have our timelines in place for our scheduling of the 2019-20 schedule, which is hard to believe in January of the year prior, but that's how quickly it comes. So the 8th grade open house kind of kicks that all off, and we're on schedule to again build that student-centered schedule for 2019-2020. So we're ready to rock and roll for that. Also, last week, 8th grade, I was looking forward. Last week we had 8th grade for the Senate District Music Celebration Night. Many of you were able to see that as well. There's also live stream, and that is all of our district music, choir and band students participated in that. It's a pretty prestigious thing to see all of them on the stage at once and singing and playing their instruments. So Dory and James and Casey and Teresa do a fantastic job coordinating that. Again, that's a community event with all the districts involved as well. So we're a great community event that's going on our 4th grade doing that. So we're very proud to see that moving forward. Market period ends on the 25th already, which is the end of this week, which is hard to believe. The second market period is coming to an end, and we're halfway through the year, but that comes fast. A couple of things that are going on for our staff and students. Mock trial is in the county semifinals. That was supposed to be last week, Thursday, and it got moved to Tuesday, tomorrow. So they'll be in the semifinals, and then if they move on, they'll be in the finals on Thursday night at the county courthouse, which is always a nice event. So look forward to that. And for student council, they are working on our first Project Grad fundraiser for our faculty versus students basketball game. That's going to be on Friday night. Big fan that's hanging out in the hallway. If you didn't see that when you came in, that's going to be a fundraiser. Really a great community that we're trying to get off the ground and invite anybody who's open to the public to come on in. We hope to have hopefully 8 to 10 teams of staff and students to have a little tournament and fun with each other and hopefully we can serve. We need to worry about that. We just have some good times and some good laughs and raise some funds for Project Grad. We look to build upon that each year and make that an annual fundraiser for Project Graduation. That's our hope. And Student Council is coordinating that event as well. Right. Behind me, I think you can still see, Mr. Kim still got it up. Pretty in pink as I segue into that athletic side of it. This past Saturday, we have, I think, probably our largest community event that we do here at High Point, and that's the Pretty in Pink Classic, which consists of really four games overall, 4 different forms overall, from Travel League to our sub-varsity games, to our boys game, and to also our girls game, which highlights the Pretty in Pink Classic. So we had a packed house for those events. Chris Dexter is the main coordinator with that, also with Tom Smith, who is a community member. They've been doing it for 9 years. This is the 9th year that they have coordinated that event, and they have raised over $300,000 over the course of time for that. So it's a really an amazing event. Everything that we do now, our Pretty in Pink games, our Play Pink games, field hockey, soccer, all those things come underneath that umbrella. And everybody's doing their own individual efforts. It's a great thing because the money, again, goes back to cancer research and also to our own community families. So we honor and recognize multiple families, individuals for courage, for heroes, and just for overall being good community members at that event on Saturday. So it was well received, and again, a great game. We swept the form, so it's even better to have that aspect of it. So good game overall. If I may, I'll segue into the athletics. Okay, we have some updates from Mr. Van Orden. Girls basketball after win on Saturday night. First place in the Freedom Division. Those divisions, as you know, change almost seems like every year, but every couple of years. 4-1 record and 7-6 overall record. Boys basketball also won on Saturday. Their overall record is 6-7 and playing very well. Wrestling is 7-1 record. They lost on Friday night. We had a great match against our old rivals, Hprhs, from across the way. So they edged us out, but then they had a match moving on Saturday where both those. And our freshman Brian Saldano finished third in the Cheesehead Invitational, which the board acknowledged previously. We went out to Wisconsin for that trip. Brian Saldano, as a freshman, finished third. I believe, from what the coach told me, he had to wrestle 3 first place finishers from 3 different states. It's a pretty tough slate to have and go out third overall. Bowling's rebuilding, but they're having fun, working hard there. Coach Perry is fantastic. He invites the staff every year to participate in an end of the year type of celebration with the team. So they're working hard each year. Swimming HWS tournament is this weekend in Kittatinny. The girls' overall record is 3-4. The boys' overall record is 3-4. Last week I was at the swim meet for the senior night. As you know, we co-op with Walker Valley, so we have a blend of Walker Valley and high school students on that swim team. Ice hockey was supposed to be rebuilding, but they're 7-8-2 this year. And really having some nice victories. Great format to see them play in Skylands. Really fun to watch them play as well. Pretty fast game. They're working hard. A couple of keynotes. Julian McDonald representing High Point Regional High School at the 2019 Women's Sports Day at Seton Hall University. It's going to be on February 3rd. That event is sponsored by the NJSIA. Tyler Winkle representing High Point High School for 2019 Pastoral Scholar Athlete, which will be later on this year in March. John Kappenmeyer will be representing High Point High School at the NJSIA Scholar Athlete program now later in May. Some athletes of the week. December 17th, Maddie Henyon for ice hockey. Ty Rubo for ice hockey. January 17th, Brittany Hill for girls basketball, Brendan Franco for boys basketball, and January 14th, John Morris for wrestling, and Marissa Maggio for skiing. Any questions about any of that?
Is it appropriate for us to publicly thank the family that provides our ice hockey practice rink?
That's more than, yeah. No, we've acknowledged them.
The Perugia family?
Yep.
We talk about it behind closed doors, an amazing facility they have right around the corner from school, and that the kids can go practice there. It's really so generous of them, and so it's really great for our team. So.
Right, the true idea of what the community is about, they live right down the road between here and there, and a fantastic facility, so Ms. Anderson, and they graciously have allowed us to be there to participate in practice facilities, which cuts down our travel time. We can focus more on academics, not 9:30 to 10 o'clock slot sometimes, and also the cost of going through.
It's great.
Very much appreciated. Thank you for bringing that up. Okay. Thank you very much, everybody.
Mr. Campbell.
Good, thank you. Good evening. I've got this podium in the middle because I want the microphone to work, but I know I'm blocking some of you, so I'll move over. You prefer I move over here so you can see our presentation.
Don't block the new kids on the block.
Great sense of pride to be here Saturday night. Vernon, Sparta, Kittatinny, to see people that I know from those communities come up to you and say, wow, your school's incredible. It's just a very gratifying night to be a member of the High Point community. Kind of walk around with your pink shirt, proud as a peacock, that people look at our facility and our students and our spirit. And to reiterate what Mr. Talame said, primarily Chris Dexter and Tom Smith for 9 years now have done something that's just spectacular. And Chris is not even our varsity girls coach this year, but he really poured himself into it. So it's a really great night for our school. Today we had our January in-service program, and we continue to promote literacy this year. And we had a guest trainer who came in from Newsela. And Newsela is a software program where students can log on to Newsela. And what's really interesting about it is they read news articles that are customized to their specific reading level. So if the entire class reads an article on Martin Luther King, you have 7 different reading levels being read at one time. Students don't know what level other students are reading at, so there's some privacy involved there. But they're all reading the same content, but they're reading it at a lexile level specifically geared for their ability. And they came in today and they spoke about, first, the entire staff heard a presentation on social and emotional learning. We know that above all else, we need kids to be healthy and balanced and safe. And so if we can embed that into our curriculum, values and emotional management, etc., it's really an asset to our curriculum. So that was a big component of it. And then staff members chose one of two options in the afternoon: close reading and inquiry. And it was a quiet day. It was a snowy day. We came in a little bit late because the world was frozen, but it ended up being a nice day. Here are 3 examples of articles students could choose to read under the social and emotional learning tab. Difficult conversations, social media, mental health, and screen time. And there are thousands and thousands and thousands of articles. There's not a topic you could teach or study that doesn't have a dozen articles in there that you can assign to students to read. Also, every time you read an article in Newsela, students take a 5-question quiz, and that quiz is specifically linked to the ELA standards. So it's a really high-tech, easy-to-use tool that we hope can continue to grow our literacy efforts. Our institutional review board, that got a nice piece of recognition in the New Jersey Herald recently, and had its first session just recently. And we're so proud. That's Dr. Alfredo Castro in the middle and Dr. Alexandra Miller. And to have our 5 AP capstone students present their college-level research in front of accomplished academics and professionals from the medical field was tremendous. It was very intimate. They gave considerable feedback, and it was a great day. So we're excited to have that finally off the ground and running. Mrs. Walton is here. She's very active with our efforts for scheduling for next year. It's only mid-January, but we're putting together the schedule for next year. And I will share out to the board so that you can take a look at it if you're interested. But next week we will have this updated. This is called Flipgrid. It's kind of like Instagram for adult nerd teachers who want to just post about teaching. Little reluctance at first because many of us don't like seeing ourselves on camera. We weren't raised the way our students were, where that's their everyday experience. But our teachers last year posted 70 videos along with their students to promote elective courses. And now when students go on to schedule, if they hear about a course, well, what is biotechnology? What is journaling through drawing? What is video game design? There's a quick little 90-second video. It's fun, it's creative, it's inviting. And last year, those 70 videos drew 9,000 views. So they watched it, their parents watched it, and I thought it was a great way for our students to get a snapshot into the course offerings that are available to them. We are one proud, strong, united community. And it's important on occasion to remind ourselves that we don't see 5 different pieces. What we see every day are children. And we do not, in any capacity, see a distinction among them. And we're quite proud of how we see students as our own. And we're quite proud of the success of all of our students. I gave a tour to a young woman, a young lady and her mother on Friday, who is a prospective choice student. And I explained to them, one of the really neat things about High Point is students come to us in 9th grade from 4 different school districts. So we kind of like the fact that 9th grade is a new experience here. And we kind of pride ourselves on the fact that most teachers, if you ask them, they don't even know a majority of their students where they're from. Because by the end of the day on September 1, you may have walked in the door from Sussex or Lafayette, but you're a High Point kid, you're ours, and we're not even cognizant of zip codes associated with students. As Mr. Talonay mentioned, to that point, probably one of the nicest events we have for all 5 districts. All 5 districts, elementary students from all 4 schools and the High Point students, here on our stage, singing and performing as one, which is a really nice experience. That was a great night. And also, our supervisors and soon our counselors will be to all 4 of the 8th grade districts. We have ongoing meetings with math and language arts to work on the transition into ninth grade. STEM and humanities are constantly visiting there, whether it's an hour of code or whether it's bringing our performing arts students there to perform Fiddler on the Roof. We are engaged. We have a great relationship. The dialogue is ongoing, healthy, persistent. So we're very excited about those 5 districts really functioning in concert. Literacy. Over the next 2 weeks, all students will take their second literacy benchmark assessment. I went around and I spoke to every English class. I spoke to 50 classes and gave them all a little pep talk that reading is safe, it won't hurt you, and that they need to continue to embrace it. And then I spoke to them all about really 2 types of reading. One is the choice reading that has really taken off, and it's had such a positive impact on our school culture. I'm carrying with me the book that I'm reading right now. Number one, I think you look a little bit smarter when you're carrying a book. Mr. Talmay asked me if I was reading it or just carrying it for prop. We're trying to get more of our teachers, when they're reading, to walk around the hall and carry what you're reading. Encourage students, stop a teacher and ask, what are you reading? The English department has invited the faculty, when you finish a book, hop into the class and just tell them real quick, 5 minutes, tell them what you read and why you liked it and why you recommend it, etc. My father for Christmas gave me The Winter Soldier, and there's lots of gory stories about soldiers dying from frostbite on the Eastern Front, so it's very applicable to today. And it's my New Year's resolution. So there's reading for pleasure, and we want our students to be lifetime readers. We want them to embrace that as part of their identity and to read because it makes them more interesting, more creative, more well-educated. And it's something that if they start young, could really have an impact on their life. The English teachers promoting this are competing with something very powerful. It's called Netflix, okay? And it's very, very hard to get adults as well to put the Netflix down and pick the book up. But we are doing it, and some teachers are doing really fantastic work changing the culture of how we talk about reading. So we're thrilled about that. The second part of reading, and I told all the students, is you sometimes have to read a passage that's 400 or 500 words, a page and a half. Oftentimes nonfiction, oftentimes about a topic about which you're not that interested. Well, that's what the SAT, and that's what PARC, and that's what your job, and in many instances that's what college will ask you to do. And I reminded all of them that their teachers and I often read things and have to read it a second or a third time. So when they take this Lincoln benchmark assessment, they're hard passages, and our students need to improve their stamina so that when they read a paragraph and they get to the second or third word they don't know, that's okay. They have to work through that, and that's how they stretch and that's how they grow. So I hope that at the February meeting I'll have some results on how our students show improvement from the September benchmark to the January benchmark. It's time for social media. Now, the clips I want to show you today, these are all from our students. So every post here was taken by a student, and it was taken in the classroom. This is what students choose on a given day to post, and it's their perspective. Now, Elise here posted once that day, whatever she was doing in Mr. Feuer's class, that math lesson just kind of excited her. And here's her posting math with Mr. Feuer. Whisker box plots, I know they're exciting. Clearly they are exciting, right? They came to life that day. Behavioral science students with different senses and perception. Our students have fun, our teachers engage them. These are not staged. These are students with cell phones who take a snapshot once a day about a lesson that they enjoyed. No better way to start the morning than a little ab workout. Even vocab and French can be fun, put a smile on your face. Science students, very much hands-on. We're all trying to burn calories in the new year. This young man is actually burning calories. Talk about relevance. When Ms. Strout tries to get students to realize that the music they listen to is poetry, and there's a great deal of art involved in the lyrics that they enjoy through music. Othello. I went in to observe a class, and there was a sword fight, and they're acting out a Shakespearean scene, and it's exciting. We're one-to-one in the sense that we have 900 students and 900 Chromebooks. To sort of balance screen time, so far we've decided not to give them Chromebooks to take home and have all the time. So far, our staff, our feedback is we like where we're at, but project-based learning, any teacher, any period of the day just about has access to a cart, and they can go one-to-one on the moment with their classroom. Mrs. Smith and her students once a month go and they meet other students from similar programs around the county, and there they are bowling. Cameras are out in the hallway everywhere. The kids are filming constantly, making projects, and the next day's newscast. And there they are prepping the next day's news program. And that's a look from the eyes of the students. So, any questions on? Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Good. On to other business. Anybody have any? Before we get going, I just want to acknowledge that we have a couple members of the Susquehanna board here with us. The new president, Mrs. D'Agostino, congratulations. And Mrs. Jenny Craig. Thank you for being here. We have a couple of former members of our high school board, Mrs. Flynn and Mr. Notaro over there. So it's good to see you guys as well. Action items, Mrs. Anderson, curriculum instruction.
Curriculum instruction. We have faculty attendance, student attendance, and the suspension report for the month of December 2018. Now I'd like to move items 4 through 7 that recommended by the superintendent that the board approves the harassment, intimidation, and bullying report, and that we approve the curricular and student activities field trips as listed, and that we approve the professional development activities as listed. And number 7, it is recommended by the superintendent that the Board of Education grants approval to Mr. John Talmay to coordinate a faculty versus student basketball tournament fundraiser on January 25th, 2019 at 7 p.m. in the high school gym to benefit project graduation. As he explained to us, those items I'm moving 4 through 7. I need a second.
Second.
Any discussion, questions? Okay, roll call.
Ms. Carver,
Yes.
Mr. Dona,
Yes.
Mr. Keo,
Yes.
Mr. Dunn? Yes. Mr. Morangi? Yes. Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Ancliffe?
Yes.
Mrs. Anderson?
Yes.
Mr. Beal?
Yes. Personnel, Mr. Dunn.
Okay, in personnel, I'd like to make a motion to move item 1, recommended by the superintendent of the Board of Education approves a 6-period assignment for Mary Magdaleno to teach our graduation portfolio class. Seeking a second?
Second.
Any discussion on item 1 in personnel? Roll call.
Mr. Dona?
Yes.
Mr. Keo?
Yes.
Mr. Dunn?
Yes.
Mr. Morangi?
Yes.
Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Ancliffe?
Yes.
Mrs. Anderson?
Yes.
Ms. Carver?
Yes.
Mr. Beal?
Yes.
Okay, item 2. I move in personnel, be it resolved that the Board of Education hereby approves the contract with Dr. Scott Ripley, Superintendent, for the period of July 1st, 2019 through June 30th, 2022. Seeking a second.
Second.
Would any board members like to make comments on item 2 in personnel?
Yes. Dr. Ripley, are you familiar with the New Jersey state law that requires an evaluation of superintendent's performance?
Yes, sir.
Are you familiar that it states it must be in writing and the superintendent of the board shall meet to discuss the findings?
That is my understanding, yes, sir.
I have it here if you'd like me to read it. Do you know there's administrative codes for the implementation of that?
I'm sorry?
There's New Jersey administrative codes for the implementation of that law. If you're not familiar with it, I can read it, but regarding the evaluation of chief school administrator. Amongst that, it says the annual summary conference between the District Board of Education with the majority of its total membership present and the chief school administrator shall be held before the performance report is filed. If anybody needs a copy, I have it present. Are you familiar with that?
Yes, sir.
Dr. Ripley, did you get one of those this past year?
No, sir.
Did you get one the year before that?
No, sir.
Do you remember the last time you got one of those?
Yes, sir.
When was that?
2014.
On what basis can we make a determination to grant you a new contract when there's no reviews to make it up?
It's my understanding and to my knowledge that I fill out the evaluation every year, and that document is submitted to all board members who then have the opportunity to submit their personal comments regarding the evaluation of the superintendent.
And you're saying you didn't get those?
Superintendent does not get those, sir.
I'm sorry, you didn't get yours evaluation from the board since 2014, you said?
That was the written document that I received was in 2014, yes, sir.
Do you make determinations on your administrators and teachers based on reviews that they get?
Among other things, but yes, sir.
Could you make decisions on them? There were no reviews for them?
No, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Anyone else that has comments on item 2, personnel?
I would like to say that if the board, the current board, the previous board had not made reviews on Dr. Ripley, that is not his fault. That is the fault of the board. And moving forward, you know, I hate to see any changes in the superintendent of the school. Because if we do, we may end up finding a superintendent less adequate for our children than Dr. Ripley.
If I may address that, I'm not disagreeing. It's one of three things that I can imagine. One is they're holding hostage and not getting the review. Two, they're afraid to confront problems with me if they are having problems. But three, it's a competence. I don't know what one of the three it is. But if he's not getting reviewed, that's not fair to Dr. Ripley, or it's not fair to the taxpayers. And it's violation of New Jersey state law.
Any other comments? I have some comments on my own. I feel it's my responsibility as a board member to provide some insight into how I vote on significant items that affect our school and community, and contracts and budgets, I think, are the two that fall in that realm. And I understand that any comments you make are subject to being challenged by my fellow board members and the public. But I still think they need to be made in interest of transparency. I'll state now that I intend to vote in favor of the new contract for superintendent, Dr. Ripley. And I say that knowing full well that the subject of that vote sits just down the table from me. And I make this following statement that the simple act of offering a superintendent a contract that includes any pay increase is an unpopular position and will be viewed with skepticism by most and even open hostility by some. I'm an analytical person. In reaching my decision, I looked at 3 primary points. The first were, what tangible results has this superintendent demonstrated? 2, what benchmarks exist regarding others who have achieved similar results in the county or elsewhere? And 3, what risks and costs could be associated with the potential loss and replacement of this superintendent in the event a competitive contract is not offered? Regarding number 1, there are numerous ways to approach and analyze data. I'm just gonna summarize and say, my judgment is simply, in the 3 years that I've served on the board, student performance is up, the overall climate is improved, and the tax burden passed along to our district municipalities has decreased or held constant during that time and longer. While this last point may not sound like a significant task, it's not easy, and I'll submit that no other school or government in our county has achieved equivalent results in such reductions. As far as number 2, the benchmarks, thanks to some data that Mr. Miller had prepared for us and some of my own independent research, I've had the opportunity to review recently ratified contracts within our county and some without. And my judgment of this research is that what has been requested by our superintendent is on par or less than what has been offered and obtained by others in similar situations. And finally, on number 3, my educated opinion as a board member, based upon observations of the educational environment currently in our area and in our state, if we do not offer a competitive contract to our superintendent, there is a very high likelihood he will obtain and accept an offer elsewhere. And I know nothing, in case that gives the impression that I do. That's just the nature of the competitive market for superintendents in our state. If that were to happen, I'm convinced there are real costs associated with replacing our superintendent that will far outweigh any savings we think we can obtain by offering a reduced contract. An interim superintendent will not be concerned with long-term vision, will likely not be as fiscally responsible, and will almost certainly request compensation greater than what we're currently offering Dr. Rick. We're entering a difficult time where the state has reduced hundreds of thousands of dollars in our state aid, and entering that period without continuity of leadership, I believe could be extremely costly to our board. With that, I'll end my comments.
If I may address that. Many of these board members attend the annual conference down in Atlantic City at taxpayer expense. They're there for a couple days. There's 4 to 6 seminars per day that you can attend. One of them is the evaluation of the superintendent. So if any of them were going, they easily could have taken it, and they may have taken the evaluation and knew that they were required to give an annual evaluation of the superintendent, yet failed to do that. And if they felt it was so important to keep the superintendent, and I'm not debating that at all, if they thought it was so important, you'd think they'd be fair enough to give them an evaluation. And it's a disgrace, in my opinion, that this man has been not given an evaluation, and it's a disgrace to the taxpayers that he has not received an evaluation for 4 years now. And ask yourself how you can vote. You couldn't give an evaluation, but you can vote for his contract.
Anyone else?
My last comment, Dr. Ripley,
Yes, sir.
I'm going to vote no, and I please do not take it as a vote against you or your contract. I just can't vote for your contract knowing there's no evaluation on you. I don't think it's fair to you. I don't think it's fair to the taxpayers.
Last call on comments for item 2 in personnel. Roll call, please.
Mr. Ancliffe.
Yes.
Mr. Dunn.
Yes.
Mr. Morangi.
Yes.
Mr. Dona.
Yes.
Ms. Carmer.
No.
Mr. Miller.
No.
Mrs. Anderson.
Abstain.
Mr. Kehoe.
No.
That's 4-3 abstention. That's me, Mr. Haley.
Yes.
Sorry, that's 5-3, 1 abstention.
We'll move on to extracurricular. Number 1, recommended by the superintendent, the Board of Education approve the individuals listed below as volunteer advisors for the club as listed. Seeking a motion. So moved.
Second.
Any discussion on one item? Roll call.
Mr. Kehoe.
Yes.
Mr. Dunn.
Yes.
Mr. Morangi.
Yes.
Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Ankliff?
Yes.
Mrs. Anderson?
Yes.
Ms. Keimer?
Yes.
Mr. Dona?
Yes. Sorry.
Mr. Beal?
Yes. All right, there's nothing in policy. Negotiations, you guys touched on it for the EA, but we'll wrap that up soon, so we're eager to get that done. Mr. Talbot, have your team reach out to me, and then we'll get that underway, because yours is up this year. So we can get that going.
Absolutely, thank you.
Thank you. Buildings and grounds, Mrs. Anderson?
Nothing at this time.
Are you sure about that?
Yes.
Finance. I'll be grouping items 1 through 8 together. Number 1, recommended that the board accepts the report of the board secretary and business administrator, attachment 1. Number 2, recommended that the board accepts the report of the treasurer for the month of December, attachment 2. Number 3, recommended that we approve the report of transfers and minimum expense transfer report for the month of December. That is G3A and G3B. Number 4, recommended that the board approve the payment of the attached schedule and order the bills dated January 21st. G4. Number 5, recommended that we accept the agency account, adult education, athletic account, cafeteria account, principal petty cash, school store, and student accounts for December 2018. That's G5. Number 6, recommended that we approve the following tuition contract between High Point as the sender and the following districts as listed. Number 7, recommended that the board grant permission to the Synergy Dance Company to host a non-affiliated dance recital on June 1st, 2019, during the hours of 11 a.m. and 2 p.m. Synergy will be charged the appropriate fees. Number 8, recommended that the Board of Education accept grant funding donated by the Gilder Lehrman Institute to cover the entire cost of a curricular field trip by the AP US History class at the Yale Club of New York City on January 2019. 40 students will be attending along with Mrs. Corey Loyola as chaperone. Need a motion on 1 through 8. So moved.
Second.
Any discussion on 1 through 8? Okay, roll call.
Mr. Dunn?
Yes.
Mr. Moran?
Yes.
Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Ankliff?
Yes.
Mrs. Anderson?
Yes.
Ms. Keimer?
Yes.
Mr. Dona?
Yes.
Mr. Kehoe?
Yes.
Mr. Bailey?
Yes. All right, transportation. Mr. Miller.
Same as mine.
Oh, is that you now?
Yes, Mr.
That's right, it
President.
has shifted, hasn't it?
I'm in charge of the
New year,
buses.
new committees. You guys are messing
I would like to move items 1 through 4 on transportation. Item 1 being our list of joint transportation agreements for 2018-19 school year. They are listed extensively. And then item 2, a list of quoted contracts for trips for the 2018-19 school year that are listed. Item 3, contract addendum, because we had to add additional mileage for an official student for the remainder of this school year. And then item 4, contract addendum for subtraction of some mileage due to deletion of a student. So items 1 through 4 are moved. I need a second.
Second.
Any questions? Okay, roll call.
Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Ankliff?
Yes.
Mrs. Anderson?
Yes.
Ms. Keimer?
Yes.
Mr. Dona?
Yes.
Mr. Kehoe?
Yes.
Mr. Dunn?
Yes.
Mr. Morangi?
Yes.
Mr. Bailey?
Yes. All right, correspondence, a thank you letter was received from My Brother's Place in appreciation for the students of basic organizing a food drive for Thanksgiving. That's attachment 13-1. Miscellaneous, the district would like to acknowledge the Newton family for their kind donation of the 9 aluminum poster board frames. Anybody else have anything on the miscellaneous? Public comments on anything, same rules apply. Step to the podium, state your name and address, and time by me 3 minutes. Keep your comments cordial and polite as you're being filmed. Anybody? Okay. Non-committee board member reports and comments. Anybody? We're not part of the other board. Other business, anybody?
I do. Regarding superintendent evaluation, I agree, this board has dropped the ball on this. We haven't, can't include Gail and Anthony because they have not been a member of this board until this month. But this board has dropped the ball on this. We have not evaluated our superintendent. I did ask about it this year at school boards, but I did not attend that particular workshop. However, I did reach out to Kathy Hallowell, and I know Kyle has talked to Jim Minkwitz about how to go about doing this effectively, and we have to get it done before, I believe, July 1st. So I am going to take up the gauntlet and start working on this. And Mr. Keough, if you'd like to join me to get it done, I would welcome your input and your help to get this done. And we'll figure out how it works and how to get it done effectively and do the right thing. So that's what I'm going to do.
All right, anybody else? All right, I need a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
All in favor?